Hello, good evening, happy Sunday, how y'all doing? Hope you had a beautiful weekend. What'd you get up to? Let me know in the comments. Hi Yvonne, make sure you say hello when you jump on. Give us some love hearts, a little bit of sugar, tell us something you're grateful for in the comments. Just waiting. Hi Tavana, hi Amy, hi Lisa. Just waiting for Christy to join us. Oopsie, I don't know how I do that. Hi beautiful girl. Mwah. How's your weekend been, everybody? Hope you've had a lovely time. I had a girls' night out last night, kid-free. Woohoo! Awesome, Amy. What did you do? Where did you go? All right, I'm just going to... Someone's been playing on my computer. That my friends are here playing computer doctor. Just adding you now. If you're just jumping on, make sure you say hello in the comments. Tell us something you're grateful for. Let's get into this. Adding. I was a +1 for a birthday at karaoke. Awesome. Hey!
Hey!
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Good to be.
How's your weekend?
Here.
Yeah.
I don't know where I should be looking. I feel like I'm looking in this really awkward spot, and I actually just need to look over here and stop looking
at the camera. Yeah, I look at you, so I was like these cross-eyed going.
So funny.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Excited to be here.
Sharing. Yeah. How's your weekend been?
Amazing. Just getting our house finished, and we're about to go away for 7 weeks. So.
Oh yeah.
Spending some time with family, getting the house finished, getting packed and organised and ready to go.
Awesome. Where are you heading off to?
We are heading to Queenstown on Tuesday, and then we're heading over to Toronto, and where are we going then? Greek Islands.
Oh, beautiful.
I know, I'm so excited. I feel like I need to get my selfie stick. Do you want to give me like... Yeah, give me a minute.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to go get my selfie stick.
I'm just going to do some shout outs. Hi, everybody jumping on. I've got Stephanie, Margie, Renee, Juliet, Tiffany, Kate. Oh, so many incredible humans on this evening. Make sure you give us some love hearts and say hello and tell us something you're grateful for in the comments today, guys. Hi, Denise. Oh, thanks for all being here. Hi, Chrissy. Kirsty is just getting her selfie stick. Hi, Kirsty. Oh, Queenstown. I know. I lived there for a year. I'm from New Zealand originally and lived there for a year, and it was amazing. Hi, Joy. It's one of my favorite places in the world. Hi, Carrie. I knew this was going to be a big one. The juicy, juicy money topic. Whoop, whoop. Hi, Janine. How you going? It won't be long. I'm just going to do a share. Hi, Shirley. Grateful for a massive shift. Awesome. Yes, it is stunning, Kirsty. It is so, so stunning. All right, where can I share this? Naomi. Hi, Naomi. My internet keeps cutting out. Oh. Well, it's definitely recorded, Yvonne, so if worse comes to worse, you can catch the replay. Hi, Shay. So if you're just jumping on, make sure you say hello in the comments. If you are catching the replay, hashtag replay in the comments as well, so we know who's getting to see this message. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Kirsty. Oh, so good. Hi. Found it?
Okay. No, I didn't, but that's okay. I've got a prompt.
Sweet.
We're all good.
That'll work. Cool. Hey, Rebecca. So I've just been doing lots of shout outs. There's lots of incredible humans on here this evening, and I'm just quickly sharing. Cool. So I thought we could get started with you sharing your little rags to riches story with us. And how, you know, I think when I met you, it was through a mutual friend, and you were living on the Gold Coast, and it was starting up a mastermind. Do you remember that? It's like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah. So, where do you want me to begin? Have you done an intro of me, or does everyone know who I am? Do people not know who I am?
No. So tell us a bit about you, and just roll with it.
All right. Awesome. Well, great to be on here. I can see some familiar names on here. So, hey Shirley, hey Bruce, hey Kelly, hey Adrian. I can't see who else is on, but there's 30 of you on. So I'm super excited to be here, and thanks for giving your time on a Sunday night to be here as well. So a little bit about me. So Nick and I met about 2 years ago when I was actually running an event and coaching business. And actually I did a post about this yesterday, that I ended up walking away from coaching a year ago exactly, and really went into the online space, building a personal brand and partnering with a platform that has allowed me to go from broke 12 months ago to creating over $1 million in received income, which is awesome. And the reason why I'm on here tonight is because I guess a big part of my story and a big part of the transformation that happened was very much within, internal shifts within, and it came down to, my relationship with money. So I believe that the challenges that come up in life, whether it be, challenges, or whether it be trauma, or whether it be, something kind of big that happens, these things happen for us to actually stop and look at where we do want to go in our life. And so, a pattern that kept reoccurring in my life was getting myself into really deep scarcity and lack of money. And so, for many years, I just went around and around and around with playing these same patterns around money. So, for example, when I was 18, I racked up heaps of debt on credit cards and went and got car loans and all these things that I couldn't pay for, and had a really bad credit rating. I then, money would come in, money would go out. I never understood how to save. I never understood how to get ahead. At one point, I had absolutely no money, and I was living out of my car. So I was like homeless, and I was staying on friends' couches. Sometimes in my car, I was sleeping in my car. Everything I owned at one point was in my car, literally in my car.
Crazy.
And I just never had a good relationship with money. And so I guess, for me to go from broke 12 months ago to, now $1 million in received income, a big part of that transformation came down to shifting my relationship with money. And that's been, that's really been the thing that's been able to catapult success. And, when you asked me to come on here tonight, I'm like, well, obviously that's the thing I would talk about, because, our inner result, so the large portion of success and where it's built is 80% internal and then 20% strategy. So now I very much, actually 18 months ago, for example, I was living a life where my partner and I, we'd walked out of Foodworks one night, and we'd gone to buy rice and eggs, and we had $4 on one card and $5 on another card, and we split that payment at the checkout. We were being evicted from our house. We had credit collectors always chasing us. We were driving around in a car that would always break down at the lights, and we'd be like praying that the light would not turn red, because every time it turned red, we'd have to like get out and try and restart the car. So all this stuff going on. And I guess, we had a real draw a line in the sand moment where we just thought, you know what, we're so sick and tired of living like this. And we'd kind of read different personal development books. We'd already tried different businesses. But yet we were kind of repeating the same patterns over and over and over. So, now 18 months on from that kind of draw a line in the sand moment, that fuck this shit moment, we've gone on to create, $1 million, but also now, live in a beautiful penthouse on the Gold Coast, travel the world, business class, stay in beautiful 5-star places, but also not so much about just, living that kind of life, which I love, but it's also about, and this is the biggest thing around money as well, is people think that, you know, people are greedy or you can't do good in the world with money and all these types of things, right? But the thing is like we need money to survive. Money is a resource for us to actually do enormous amounts of good in the world, and it's a direct reflection of the impact that we've made. So now I've been able to go on, for example, I've got a really sick friend at the moment. I was able to give to him to support him through his health journey. You know, we've gone on to be able to, create, get involved in different projects that are going on, all sorts of different things, right? So, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
And that's where I think it's really important that money is falling into conscious hands and people who are going to circulate it in a way that it's actually going to better the whole, as opposed to just being a greedy business person who takes and takes and takes and doesn't give back.
And I guess that in society that we kind of, that's the part of money that we see, right? Or we hear of, is like the greed in the world, and the and of course we see the good in the world as well, but there's a lot of, like, especially on news and all of those types of things, that there's a lot of greed associated with it. So a big part of our conditioning in society is, oh no, we don't need money, we don't need much, I don't want all of the material things, you know, I only need a bit to get by. And it's like, well, what do you really want? Are you playing your life by society conditioning and what you think you should believe, or what actually feels right within? And the thing is you go.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think there's like a stigma attached too with being spiritual and wanting money. And it's like, well, if I'm spiritual, I don't need money, I live off the earth, and I'm like this soul child. But fuck, like, I'm spiritual and I'm like, I want money, like, give me the money. Like, and I can do so much good with the money as well. So why does it mean that you can't, why are you not able to be one without the other? Like, you know, why can't the two marry together? And I think that people have that kind of mentality that, oh, if I'm a spiritual being, then I can't actually be abundantly, financially abundant as well.
There's a big thing in the spiritual world around money. It's been, it's very much been like two worlds divided. You know, there's been like the spiritual world, and then there's been the rich world. And I think what we're emerging into now, especially with the collective conscious and the shift of the collective consciousness happening right now, and I can really feel it, you know, amongst so many different communities, that this shift is currently taking place across the world, is
massively.
that the spiritual and the rich and the wealthy are actually merging together to know that we actually, like, even if we go into, which I'm not religious in a way of like traditional religion of going to church or anything like that, but I do believe in universal powers. I do believe in the divine, and whatever God means to you, I do believe in that. But if we even look at, say, the Bible, it's like, well, Jesus actually wanted us, like, actually, like, noted that we are abundant beings, and we are, that's what we are. Like, we are born into this world and in our true essence as abundant, as happy, as blissful, as, you know, joyful. And it's only when we actually get sucked into the society conditioning, which has only been passed down from, you know, years and years and years of this stuff, is that then we kind of fall into this trap in childhood, and then in our adult years we go, well, hang on a second, what's happened here? Like, why am I finding, why can I never get by? Why am I always struggling? Why is money never flowing to me? Or maybe it's not around money, maybe it's a different type of belief or a different type of thing. But for so many people, you know, 95% of the population is this thing when it comes to money. And it's like, well, let's bridge both the spiritual world. I mean, for example, this morning I was on my balcony taking, I had a photographer over for sunrise, and I had my crystal bowl, I had my goddess cards out, I had my crystals everywhere, you know, Himalayan rock salt lantern, and I'm like, all right, well, like, what, and that's what a beautiful part of, I guess, my branding is, and the way that I hope to deliver the message that we can bridge both of those worlds. So it's not separate, that we have to be spiritual hippies, you know, walking around bare feet, which is all well and good. I love walking around bare feet, but we don't have to be doing that in a way where we're then struggling to pay rent and struggling to get by. We can do it in a really rich and beautiful and wealthy way, and yet still be able to blend those two.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up the nature thing, because I have a meditation that I listen to every night, and in that she's talking about, you know, we are born into as abundant beings, and nature only actually provides an abundance. Like if you look around, nature is abundant. There's no way around it. And we are all part of that natural selection. We are that part of that nature. So we are abundant beings as well. And it is forgotten through money stories, through, you know, belief systems, through things that we're taught from our parents and role models and things, you know, as we're growing up, that we start forgetting that we're actually abundant beings.
Well, that's our natural state.
It's our birthright.
And so we have to come back to that, you know, and it takes stripping back all of the layers, and it takes, you know, it takes a little bit of work, and it takes really facing what's going on within. And a lot of people will not go there to that point of actually really looking at what is going on within. But when you give yourself permission to do that and start to uncover everything and unpack everything, all of the beliefs or the conditioning, all of the self-sabotage, all of the patterns, all of the stories, all of the excuses, all of the things as to why you currently have been experiencing what you've been experiencing, until we can actually look at that and unpack that and uncover that, then, you know, then we get to choose a new way forward.
Yes, absolutely. So just want to do a quick little shout out. There's lots of people jumping on. I'm just going to say an overall hi, everybody that's just jumped on. Make sure you say hello in the comments. Tell us something you're grateful for today. I'm chatting with the gorgeous Christy Ord. We're talking about money, the good, juicy stuff. So what I would love for you to touch on is that, because, you know, obviously in the last 12 months, you've had massive growth, but it hasn't started in the last 12 months for you. And I want you to talk about the behind the scenes stuff that you've actually been putting in place for however many years to then get to that space where you're able to receive the abundance you're actually creating now. Because it's not just an overnight thing. Like it's, and I think people see that. It's like, oh, she's just gotten rich in 12 months. Like, why can't I do that? But it's not. Like it's a process. Yeah. So if you could touch on like what it is that you've done on a consistent basis, what you've put in place.
Yeah. Awesome. So it definitely was not overnight. And I think a lot of us can compare along our journey. And I definitely did this, was that I started to compare myself against other people who had built massive brands online, who were making,
I think we all do it,
a year. And, you know, and it's one of the biggest ways to kill our dreams is when we start to go off our own lane and off our own track and start to compare ourselves to somebody else. But it happens, and it's perfect, and we need to all experience that for us to keep going in the journey. So definitely wasn't like an overnight success. I didn't go from this, you know, broke to millionaire in 12 months. Well, I did, based on you know, my bank account, but I was doing a lot of internal work leading up until the last 12 months. And what that looked like, I mean, you know, 6 years ago, for example, back in 2000, a little bit longer than 6 years now, 7 years, back in 2012, I quit my corporate job. So I was very much a person that went through the normal way of working, you know, in terms of went to school, you know, had a job at school, came out of that, went to university, thought I needed to go to university to end up having a good job and a good salary. And so I did that. You know, went to university for 5 years, got a good job paying $60,000 a year. And I thought, yes, I've made it. I've totally made it. And then very quickly, I mean, within a month or 2 months of me showing up in that reality, I was like, why do I feel so miserable? Why do I feel so depressed? Why do I feel like I have to drink all the time? And I would go to work, and then I would be like texting friends going, let's meet at the pub after work. And I would drink like every night. I'd get blind on a Friday night, blind on a Saturday night. And that was kind of what I repeated over and over and over. And I was like, and it actually like kind of took me going, hang on a second, why am I choosing to live like this? Yes, I was like young, 22, but, you know, at the same time, I was like, well, this isn't really fulfilling. Like I just, and then I would roll in on a Monday morning, and I'd be deflated, and I'd be frustrated, and I'd be counting down to Friday. And so
waking up on Monday morning going, no, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I remember, you know, I went to, I was in my office one day, and I was researching something online, because I never really, by the end, I never really did any work. I just like researched stuff online.
Googled shit.
And I came across this guy. I came across this guy. He was actually Australian, and he was in Hawaii, and he was making 20K a month living the laptop lifestyle. And I was like, what? Like, do people even do that? Is that even possible? And I remember just like reading the article, and I was so intrigued, and I was so inspired, and I felt so activated after reading it. And I was like, hang on a second, like if somebody else can do that, then surely I can. It was what, like, I guess initially sparked this like entrepreneurial spirit within me that I didn't know I had. I thought I was just going to work for someone else the rest of my life. But I guess it provoked something within me, and I was like, well, hang on a second, this like Aussie dude is currently in Hawaii on these beautiful beaches, and he's earning $20,000 a month on the internet. And I'm like, well, like, what is this all about? And I was so intrigued that I started to, I started to download audio books, and I started to listen to, I read Think and Grow Rich, and I started reading some of Robert Kiyosaki's books, and I started to, any type of success or business related type book or audio, I started to listen to it, and I started to feed my mind. I started to listen to a lot of Jim Rohn. I love Jim Rohn's work. And I started to see that there was a whole different world out there that I was not even exposed to. I mean, yeah, sure, I knew of people starting their own businesses and all of that type of stuff, but I thought it was like more traditional type businesses where you might open up news agents, or you might open up an IGA, or you might open up, some kind of real estate or something like that. But I never really thought of like these entrepreneurial people that made money online and were able to leverage the internet and be able to free up time in their life to go and do all of these fun things that they love. And so I guess that's where it really sparked. And I remember I quit my job. I guess I'm like the typical like struggling entrepreneurial story where I like quit the corporate job with no savings in the bank and went out there on her own and, started to live the entrepreneurial dream, which is not the entrepreneurial dream. It's like, it's such a challenging time. And I think every person that has done that same transition has found the same. So I had no savings. I had no backup plan. I was just like young and free. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go out there and be an entrepreneur. I had no idea what I was doing. But I set that intention, right? I set the intention that I was going to be this amazing entrepreneur. And I started then just dabbling in things. I dabbled in network marketing. I was selling supplements and running these like home parties. And I started to make a little bit of money from that. That was like my first entrepreneurial thing that I did. And I remember I made like $300 one week. And I was like, oh my God, I made like $300 on my own.
For myself.
Like, yeah, like it was awesome. And I was like, wow. And then I guess that's where I got it. I was like, okay, I get this. Like, this is amazing. If I've made $300, I can make more than that. And so I dabbled in that for a bit, and I started to get into like the secret and manifestation work. And if I guess, you're going down this track, then understanding the laws of the universe and manifestation is really a big key to success. And once you understand it and you grasp it and you start to know it and then start to embody it and live like that, like things just flow a lot easier. So I started to understand a little bit about manifestation and started to put some of that stuff in practice and started to really look at, well, we get to create our own reality. So I remember I tested myself once and I was like, all right, I want to open a raw food cafe. And I had just like spent about a year at that point going through a massive healing, detoxing stage of my life. And I was able to heal my body from all sorts of things like digestive problems and bronchitis and all these things that I'd been suffering with through real food, whole food, raw food living. And I was like, I want to impact others and I want to teach them how to do this. And I'm going to open up a cafe. And I kept telling every single person that I met that I was going to open up a cafe. And I was like, this year. So I think it was like 2014. And every person I would meet or every person that asked me how I was going, I was like, yeah, I'm awesome. Which like, I mean, I was, I wasn't that awesome, but I was like, yeah, I'm awesome. I'm opening up this raw food cafe. And they were like, and yet, I was struggling to pay rent and I had no money in the bank and was majorly struggling and could not get a loan or anything like that. So there was like no logical way. And this is the thing. Sometimes there's no logical way or reason why you would be able to do what you want to do. But I kept putting it out there and I was like, yeah, the law, manifestation and law of attraction. And I was like, I just kept telling people, I'm going to open up this raw food cafe. I'm going to open up this raw food cafe. And they were like, oh, yeah, cool. And anyway, I ended up, like, long story short, I ended up opening up this raw food cafe and basically got it given to me, which was freaking awesome, and ended up opening up this business. I was in business within like 7 days of getting this phone call from someone saying, hey, I know that you want to open up this raw food cafe. We have a cafe space at our gym and we'd love to offer it to you. And so I didn't need a lot of startup. I actually
That's
needed
awesome.
$3,000 to get set up, and my tax return was exactly $3,000. But I kept
Thank
setting,
you, universe.
right? Yeah. So I kept setting this intention for like 10 months. And of course, and then when it came to fruition, when I realized like how powerful our intention can be, I was like, I can create anything. And you know, that was a couple of years ago. And then I went through a massive struggle. You know, I opened up the cafe, and it did really, really well. But what happened was, due to my money stuff, I had a belief that I needed to work really, really hard in order to be worthy of making some money for myself. And so what I did was I started to fall into this trap of working and working and working and working and taking on all these extra things. And I got to a point, 18 months into that journey where, no, it must have been just over 12 months into that journey, about 14 months, that I had really bad adrenal fatigue. And one day I woke up, my parents knew that I was struggling, and they came and supported me for a little bit, and woke up one day and I couldn't physically get out of bed. Like, I was just so exhausted. I was so tired. I was so emotionally drained. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. And I ended up shutting down that business. And I was in a place where I was really struggling again financially. I actually went home and lived with my parents for a bit. Between those kind of last few months of having my cafe was when I was living out of my car, because I was just in this really awful self-sabotage around money and what I was worthy of receiving. And that I was like, well, I have this business, but I'm not actually worthy of success. And there was a lot of unworthiness going on a really deep level that I couldn't unpack myself. And so, yeah, I went home, lived with my parents. And that was really, I guess that was about 3 years ago. That's really when I started to properly look at getting very, very clear on how I did want my life to look. And that's really, I remember sitting there and I was like, well, what are my core values in my life? And I remember, writing down that my core value was freedom. Like, when I feel free to do what I want when I want, that's when I feel expansive. That's when I feel that I can create. That's when I feel like I can impact. And so I knew that whatever I ended up doing needed to be something that gave me the freedom to be able to choose. I love spending time with family, and I love spending time with friends and all of those types of things. So I wrote down at the time what I valued and what I really wanted. And I wanted to make a global impact, and I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to support people in their journey, and I wanted to do all of these different things. And so I got really clear on that. But then, that was 3 years ago, and 18 months ago, as I said before, I was in Struggle Street and coming out of Foodworks, just had, $4 on one card, $5 on another card. When I met my partner, actually, we were a massive direct reflection of each other, which is beautiful and yet challenging. When you meet someone that's very similar, we had a lot of the same kind of belief systems and self-sabotage and patterns that we'd taken on. And so we came together, and it was like, boom, like two of the exact same things coming together, and having to really work through a lot of that stuff. So I guess where the real transformation started to happen was, once I'd had that draw a line in the sand moment, 18 months ago, I started to get very clear on a daily practice. And that was something that really shifted everything for me, because up until that point, I had read a lot, I had listened to a lot, I'd watched mentors, I'd watched all these things on YouTube, but I never really took it and embodied it for myself. So I knew about self-worth, and I knew about self-love, and I knew about concepts around money. Not as much as I do now, but I knew that there was like a different way, and yet I wasn't giving myself permission to actually embody those things. And so once I actually took everything from a place of knowing to a place of more embodiment, and actually putting together grounded practices, and actually putting together like very clear intentions around money and rituals around money, and really looking at what we did want in our life and focusing more on that and getting very clear and intentional, was when the biggest shift started to happen. But as you say, no, it's not an overnight success, and nobody is. What we forget, and what sometimes when we're comparing ourselves to other people, is we see people that have, millions of followers on Instagram, or you know, a business that makes $2 million, or we might see someone who's super confident and oozes this elegance and this way of speaking, and we're really inspired, but we're also triggered, and we're triggered because we're comparing ourselves against that person's result or how they show up. And it's like, but what if we actually really uncover that person's story and that person's journey? What has been the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years? What has been the struggles that person had to go through? So for me, one of the biggest struggles was literally being homeless, not being able to afford rent, having everything in my car that would break down, and literally some nights sleeping in it, and just coming back to complete faith and trust, but also being terrified as fuck of living like that, but coming back to a place of like, one day, like this will get better.
Just and knowing that it's gonna get better.
Just knowing, right? And so many, you know, you see struggling artists, for example, they've got this passion and this love for art, and, you know, they go through all this struggle, and, or it might be a musician, and they've been busking on the streets, and they've been homeless, and they've been doing all that, and then all of a sudden one day they make it, but it's because they went through,
they've done the work.
They've done the work, right? Yeah. They deserve to be there. But what happens so much is when a challenge arises or a struggle arises for most people, they go back to the workforce, and not saying that that's a bad thing to do, but they go, hang on a second, this is too risky. I can't live like this, or whatever it is, and they go back to living where they might have been living 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, when if they just kind of kept going and just kept trusting in the process and kept working on themselves.
And that's key, working on yourself. Yeah,
they would be so close to a breakthrough.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. It's so juicy. It's so true. It's that whole just continuing, just consistent, doing the work, and it grows, and it's not snap. It's like, it happens over time. And I'm seeing that with my business and the work. Like, I'm just constantly on it, and I have weeks where I'm just like, fuck this shit, and I'm throwing my hands up in the air. But then it's that knowing and that thing that you come back to in yourself of, no, I've got this. I know this. I can see what this is. I visualize this every fucking day. Like, I know it's coming. I've just got to trust the process, like you say.
Yeah, absolutely. And visualization's a really big part of the process. I mean, we all have different tools and techniques, and that's the thing. Like, you can never say one tool or technique's going to work for everybody. So it's about finding, like, through your own journey, it's about trialing different mentors and coaches, and trialing different things, and trialing different modalities, and maybe going and seeing a healer, and then going and doing a retreat in Peru, or whatever it is, right? Finding the flavors and the things and the tools that are going to support you forward. For me, you know, you just mentioned visualization. Visualization was a huge thing, and it's something you can do for free. I mean, you can literally lie in bed and meditate in the morning, or go out on your balcony or wherever you are and sit there for 5 minutes in silence and visualize, what do you actually want? You know, like, give yourself time to be present and still, and in the stillness is where we can get the clarity. And so visualization's been a huge part of my process of just knowing and just believing and always seeing and trusting that vision, because that's the thing about, like, universal laws. If you can see it, then you can achieve it. It's actually already out there, placed for you energetically. And then if you can download that, and if you can actually grasp that and go, all right, cool, yep, I've got that. I can see myself on stage in front of 1 million people. But right now, that absolutely terrifies the fuck out of me, and it makes me feel extremely uncomfortable. And then there's these logical things that can start to come up around your self-worth, or, oh no, I couldn't do that, or whatever. But it's like, hang on a second, come back to what was that original vision, right? And if you can see it, and you can see it so crystal clear, then of course that it's only a matter of time, but you continuing along the journey and putting in, you know, the practices that support you, and uncovering whatever might be there, and continuing with that journey, then it's going to come to fruition. And actually, that's exactly, like, I was blown away 2 weeks ago. A vision that I've had in my mind for so long is running this huge event, and you know, making a huge impact to lots of people, and you know, doing this thing that I love, and talking about freedom and all of this stuff, right? And I stood on stage 2 weeks ago in front of an event that I ran with 500 people, and they had all put together this plaque, this big glass crystal plaque with names all over it, and a gratitude thing for us, a message for us saying how much we had impacted their lives and changed their lives. And I was like,
amazing.
wow, like if I didn't trust that vision and trust the visualization and trust myself and the journey, even though it was so freaking hard at times, then I wouldn't have made that impact to so many other people's lives or been the catalyst of that impact if I didn't keep trusting that journey.
Absolutely. And I love that too, is that like right now, like you can look ahead and at your vision and be like, fuck, that terrifies me, like standing on a stage in front of millions of people. But what actually happens in your journey is, and the process, you become the person that's going to be comfortable and be okay. Well, maybe not comfortable. I think you're still going to be shit scared and like, fuck, but you'll have the skills and the abilities to be that person that steps on the stage. And that's the beautiful part of the process and the journey, is that you're constantly evolving, you're constantly shifting and changing and growing and expanding to become the person that you need to be able to make the $1 million and receive the $1 million and know how to receive the $1 million, or be the person that stands on the stage with confidence. Like it's all part of that beautiful process.
And it's actually about getting clear on, well, who do I need to become? You know, that was something that I asked myself about 2 years ago when I was like, I could just see this vision. I just knew I was going to be this really influential person. I knew I was going to make global impact. I could just see it. But yet the bank account didn't reflect that, and my results didn't reflect that. And so it was so frustrating living like that. But, you know, the more that you can see it and then go, well, who do I need to become? Right? So what behavior do I need to take on? What do I need to embody? What would, you know, the $100,000 a month earner, how would they show up in the world? You know, what
how do they talk?
Would they be taking? How do they talk? How do they come
think?
across?
Yeah.
Totally. How do they think? All of that. So it's actually asking yourself, well, who do I need to become? And when I actually really asked myself that question, it terrified me. You know, it terrified me because it meant that I couldn't play
out of your comfort zone.
I couldn't play small. I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to commit to it, if I'm going to unleash, right, that 2.0 version within me, then it's going to be uncomfortable. And so something that I had to get used to along this journey was getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I teach that to everybody that's in our community, is that you really need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And even like when you're doing your journaling in the morning or whatever practice that you have, write down, what is the thing that terrifies me today, and go and do that thing. Because the more that we keep stepping into it, the more we keep allowing ourselves to keep, even though it's terrifying, but the more we allow ourselves to step into it and expand is where we receive more, right? Because it's like, okay, cool, you're going to take this step forward, awesome, you get to receive the next layer, the next level, right? So it's about always continuing to go, okay, am I playing safe? Like even recently I realized that even though I'd done $1 million in received income, I was like, well, I'm kind of getting a little bit comfortable with this. Like I'm getting comfortable with the $100,000 a month, right? And I was like, wow. And I really caught myself on it. And I was like, it's not that I have, you know, slowed down or taken a step back or anything like that. But in my field and my energy, I was like, okay, I've kind of gotten used
hanging
to
out the 100K month. Yeah, I
was like, so what's the next layer? What's the next level? And for me, what I realized was, oh, actually, I've still been playing a little bit small, right? And others look at me go, she's not playing small, she's playing this massive game and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, but I was like, well, hang on, like the next layer and level to go to requires even more inner work. It requires new beliefs, it requires new embodiment, it requires new activation, it requires new commitment, and it requires the new layer, the new level of getting uncomfortable. And so over the last 1 to 2 weeks, I've really been testing and playing with that and stepping into that, and it terrifies me, you know, like it really terrifies me, because what's next in terms of projects and you know, all sorts of things that are to come, it's like, whoa, hang on a second, can I really achieve that? You know, it's these thoughts again that I had back when I was earning $1,000 a month or $3,000 a month, you know, can I really do this? Can I really be worthy of the 100K a month? Can I, you know, all this stuff. And I'm actually experiencing that again right now because the new level, the new layer absolutely terrifies me. I mean, it's
so
so
when
exciting.
you say embody, so I just want a bit of clarity for everyone watching. When you say embody, what exactly do you mean by that? So you've got a thought of, okay, I want to make $3,000 a month. So how do you embody that?
Yeah, great question. So let me give you an example. A big thing that I talk about is, say, gratitude, right? And I used to know about gratitude, and I would even say about gratitude. So I would be like, oh yeah, I'm really grateful for this and that and that and that. But on a deeper level, I wasn't actually vibrating and being grateful fully internally and fully embodying gratitude.
Feeling it.
Right? Actually feeling it and actually deeply on an internal level, being the grateful person. So I knew it on a logical and mindset and head-based thing, but in my heart, I wasn't fully deeply embodying it. So others wouldn't, others around, and others can pick up, right? Whether you are embodying something. So, okay, another thing is boundaries. Like that's a huge part of the, I guess, the personal development journey, is boundaries. And I knew about boundaries. So I knew that for me to stop feeling frustrated around any other people's energy, or, you know, all sorts of different things and circumstances and things that kept showing up in my life, I knew for me to actually shift those, that I needed to set boundaries. And so I knew about boundaries, and I would talk to other people about boundaries, and I'd be like, oh, you need to set boundaries, and you know, you need to have more boundaries, and blah 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 blah, because I was like a reflection of other people, and they were talking to me about their own stuff around boundaries. But then I started actually embodying boundaries. So now my energy is like, don't fuck with me. Not in a harsh way, but it's like, I have
this is
very
what it is.
clear boundaries because I embody that. And so it's actually about taking it from knowing from a head and a mindset and a logical thing of something you've just read in a book to actually deeply practicing it and vibrating as that person. And that takes work as well. But there's certain things along the journey. So with money, you can know, and this was something else, and I wrote something about this yesterday around, you know, I knew about money, or I was teaching about money, but like my bank account was actually not that great. So it wasn't until I fully embodied and started actually actively doing the work around the money and actually actively doing what I spoke about and what I preached, was then the results would come in. So that's what I mean in terms of, you might know something, you might even be talking about it, you might even be teaching it to other people, but are you actually deeply embodying it and doing it for yourself? Because that's where the real results start to happen.
Yeah, beautiful. Awesome, thank you.
So
all right, so I am cautious of your time because I know you've got family and stuff there. So is there 3 little simple tips that you can leave with people who are watching, where they can really start kind of making some deep and inner shifts, or things that they can start kind of putting into place to really start connecting back to their abundance, being that abundant being, and to start kind of calling in that money, that financial freedom?
Yeah, so get really clear with what you do want. And you need to be able to give yourself permission to have that. I know for me, when I was first, you know, going through this journey, there were certain levels that I thought that I might be worthy of, but it wasn't until I gave myself full permission to actually receive that and step into that, was when money started to flow in. And so you need to actually look at, well, number one, there's two components there. Number one is get very, very clear on what you do want. So write out everything that you desire. Write out, if you were to travel, how would you like to travel? Where would you go to? Would it be business class, or would it be economy? Either way is fine. It depends what you value. What kind of experiences would you do when you travel? When you look at your friendships and the close people around you, what does that look like? You know, if you can visualize that and go, okay, what type of people would I love to hang around? And I remember, like, I used to feel really lonely in this journey. I was like so lonely, and I was like, is anyone ever going to get me? You know, I was like, I'm sure there's people out there that kind of think the same, but where are they all? Like, I felt really alone. But I started to get very intentional on, like, what do I want to create? Like, I get to choose. It's my responsibility to choose and to attract those people to me. And so get clear on, well, what does that, like, what does your community look like? Not in terms of physical looks, but like, how do they show up in the world? What excites them? What do they do with their time? What type of people are they? What are their values? And now I'm like surrounded by all these, like, all my friends, all my entire collection and community. We're all people who dream big and live big and, love abundance and do all this stuff. And it's like, well, and only 2 years ago I felt really lonely, right? So get very clear on, what does the travel look like? What would your time look like? What do you truly want to be doing with your time? Do you really, really, really want to be going to a soul-sucking job for 38 hours a week for $1,000? Like, do you really want that? And if you do, if you are so fulfilled and lit up and feel that you are doing exactly what you're meant to be doing in this world, and you feel fulfilled in that, awesome. That is fantastic. Keep doing that. But if you're not, then get clear on, well, what does that look like? How would I choose to spend that 38 hours a week? What type of work would I be doing in the world?
How would you be helping?
Totally. How would I be helping people? What type of impact would I be creating? What's the feeling when I meet people, like if I've impacted their lives? So something that I used to write out of my journey was, I used to write this in my journal, was, I impact people on a global level, and people come up to me in the streets and thank me for the work that I do in the world. Like, I would literally write that out, and no one had ever at that point come up to me in the street and said thank you for the work they do in the world, right? No one had done that. But I was like, well, if I'm going to attract that, then I need to get clear first and foremost that that's what I do want, and I need to actually bring it into now. Because if you just say, I want this, I want that, I want that, it's actually very separate. Whereas if you say, I have that, or people do walk up to me in the street, that's where you can manifest it so much quicker. So what happened when I started to write this out, people walk up to me in the street and thank me for the work that I do in the world. It was like 2 days later or 3 days later, somebody actually came up to me, no joke, in the shopping center, and she was like, are you Christy? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, because at that point I was like on a podcast or something like that.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my God, I listened to your podcast and I just want to thank you for the work that you do in the world. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I was like, are you actually serious? Yeah. And I was like, wow, this shit really works. So design, like, the thing is like, we've just spoken about abundance, and like, we could probably do a whole freaking workshop on this, but like, you need to get very crystal clear, because you are allowed to have it all, but you have to give yourself permission to have it all. And by giving yourself permission, means getting very clear on, what does that look like? What is the feelings around it? How do you feel? Like, if you want to design your dream house, okay, well, what does that, like, what are the types of things that you would like? And how do you feel when you're in there? Do you feel expansive? I know for me, like, I wanted somewhere where I felt really open and expansive, and I felt really abundant. And that's exactly what I found, So it's about getting
and
clear.
that's just an important little thing there that you said about feeling, is that it's one thing to sit there and speak it and visualize it, but if you are still vibrating at a level that does not align with what it is that you want, you're not going to attract it. You've got to step into that feeling. Like, imagine what it feels like to be seven-figure, or have the dream house, or have the amazing career, or be having that global impact. Step into that feeling so that your vibration is raised up there for it to come to you.
100%. And another thing around vibration, I'm so glad you spoke about that, was have a daily routine when it comes to money. If it's money and abundance and more of that you want, in terms of more flow into your life, something that we did was we created this little, we call it the money dance. And now, like, it's something that, like, people do these little videos and put them online, and I see it happening, like, in Canada and the US, and all these people do this dance now, right? And I'm like, how could I thought we were these weirdos on the beach that sit around
every time I do this dance, money comes in every time.
Totally, right? And I've literally had so many people reach out to me and be like, oh, I did the money dance, and like, I got a check of $300 in the mail, and I did the money dance, and I had an unexpected $2,000 drop into my account. And now, total disclaimer on this, guys, please do not do a money dance if no money shows up. Don't blame me, and don't
Yeah.
say that I said that, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm just suggesting that, you know, energy. So there's so much more than just what our mind thinks. It's about how we vibrating, right? So we talked about embodying gratitude and all those things. How are we vibrating to the world? And it's the same as money. So you need to build a healthy and nourishing relationship with money, and actually put attention into that area of your life. If you want to have a good relationship, you've got to put attention into it. If you want to have a good relationship with money, you've got to put the attention into it. And so something that we did was, we had read a book called Happy Pocket Full of Money, and there was a sentence in there that said, I love money and money loves me. And we would go down to the beach, and we put our, I love being bare feet. I love just putting my feet in the sand and connecting with the earth and connecting with nature. And we would do this thing where we'd jump around the beach, we'd hold hands and we'd jump around like crazy little kids. And that's where flow happens as well, is when we're fun and playful and our inner child's out. And we'd dance around the beach and we'd be like, I love money and money loves me. I love money and money loves me. I love money
I
and
love money and money loves me. I love
money and money loves me. I love money and money loves me. Right? And then all of a sudden, like, and we would do this, right, when we had, like, we didn't know how we were going to pay rent the next day. And all of a sudden, the next day, there'd be, like, the exact amount for rent that would show up in our account, right? Just, like, crazy shit like that. And it's about playing and testing with it, because you know what? All this is just a game. And you get to play with it. And you get to not take it too seriously. You get to just, like, have fun with it. And so we would do that. And then we started to see, like, money starting to come in. I'm like, hang on, why is that? Why is it that when I was in a shit attitude about money, so when I was focusing on, like, why is it such a struggle, why is money so hard, why this, and, like, really focusing on that stuff, that, like, money would not flow in. Like, there was no chance of money showing up in my account. But when I was shifting my vibration, so when I was, like, in a high vibration, I'm down on the beach, I'm connecting with nature, I'm saying, I'm literally putting it out there that I love money and money loves me. What do you think I'm going to attract? If I'm putting it out there and I'm using every part of my being and my energy to put that out there and embody it, not just say it, but fully embody it, then what's going to happen, right? Money's going to then, because you've embodied that practice, so then money is going to start flowing to you. And so that's what happened for us. So I recommend having a healthy relationship with money, and finding a ritual around money. So it could be the money dance, or it could be something else that lights you up and that helps you to vibrate at a higher level, so that you can start to attract more money. And then third of all is, something that I said before actually, is give yourself permission. So the biggest reason why people don't hit the level of success that they desire, or the level of abundance or wealth, is that they simply don't give themselves permission to be rich and to have it all. You know, like, sometimes we think, okay, if I've got a really awesome relationship, then what happens and shows up in our life is stuff around money. Or you might have all the money in the world. That's why you hear of so many people that are really rich, but yet they're miserable, they're depressed, they are overweight, they've got all these other things going on in their life, right? So it's like an imbalance in having it all and giving themselves permission to have it all. So you might see really rich people, but they might be really sick. Or you might see, you know, like, people that have the most loving relationship in the world, but another area of their life is out of balance, right? They might be really stressed, or really working long hours and all of this stuff. So it's actually about giving yourself permission to have it all, right? And having it all, well, might mean something different to each person, but there's no sacrifice that needs to happen. You don't have to have one thing and not the other. You get to have it all in a perfectly abundant way, which is orchestrated when you give yourself full permission to step into that. So actually, just one thing is, like, embody and wake up each day. And, like, this is something I said on stage 2 weeks ago, and I got the crowd to say it, is I give myself full permission to live, what did I say, a fully fuck yes, excited as fuck life.
Yeah, nice.
And that's it, right? You got to give yourself permission. So there's 3 things. I could go on forever about this topic. I love talking about abundance, and just simple little things. And it doesn't need to it doesn't need to be an area of life that needs to be a struggle or needs to be chaos. I do believe in order to break through that you need to actually experience the level of struggle and chaos, because it actually shows you how you don't want to live and it shows you how you do want to live, and then you actually put your ass into gear and go, okay, hang on a second, that was shitty living out of my car, or that was pretty crap, you know, not being able to pay the rent and getting an eviction notice. So now I get to choose because I made that I made that choice, because everything we have to take full responsibility for. And once we can take full responsibility and go, all right, now I get to shift this and I get to give myself permission to actually step into the life that I'm worthy of.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Thank you, my love.
Cool.
All right,
You're so welcome.
Share with us what it is you do and how anyone who may be curious about working with you can get involved and connect with you.
Yeah, awesome. So I suggest if you do want to reach out, you're more than welcome to personal message me. We utilize a platform. So we partnered with a platform 12 months ago that really supports people and teaches people how to make a good income online. And we have a funnel and a kind of done for you system that's all there within the system, so people don't have to go out and kind of put all the pieces together themselves. They can literally plug into something that works and converts. And I find that this was a lifesaver for me, because when I was out there trying to find to create my own platform, programs, to create, try and find my own products, to try and find all of that, and then put together the marketing platform, the funnels, all of that, that I felt like I was doing everything and it was like chaos. And then when I found this platform that actually supports people step by step to understand irresistible offer and have a ticket item that you can work with, and then understanding how to build a brand on social media, because the thing is whatever you're selling online is not actually about that thing, it's about you. And so we support people to build that brand and then actually tap into a marketing platform that does 90% of the work and works and converts. So if you guys want to watch a webinar that basically breaks that down, goes into a bit more detail around that, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I know a lot of people in our community are currently on this live stream, so it's super cool to see all your names. But yeah, I'm just really passionate about, people really choosing, and whether that's through working with me or working through Nick. And Nick does amazing things in the world, and there's so many people that are really supporting people in their journey, but just to live more freely and with more abundance and with more, by living a life that really excites you. So yeah, if you guys want to know more, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I'd love to have a chat with you, and I really appreciate you having me on tonight, Nick.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for being here, and all the incredible souls that came and spent their time with us this evening. Thank you. If there were any questions, I noticed a few questions, but Chrissy and I were just on a roll, so I was like, I'm not going to interrupt. I noticed a few questions, so I'll tag Christy, and then you can have a look and answer them.
I haven't seen the questions, but I have my computer in front of me, so I'm happy to go through and have a look. But yeah, super cool to be on here. Thanks so much, guys, for having me. It was really fun. I hope you guys got some value and something from that. Thanks,
yeah,
Nick.
awesome. Thanks, hun. Talk soon.
Lots of love. Chat soon.